Welcome back to Always Learning. What are we doing today? Well, today we're learning how to tie a gold-ribbed hare. And it's a gold-ribbed hare's ear, and it comes from, you're tying it from the face of a rabbit mask, and you're using rabbit for hares, and you're using the ear parts and the face guard, and you're also using a pheasant feather is what I typically use. And you can use dubbing if you don't want to use the hair from the from the rabbit. And then you're also using some ribbed gold tinsel, which gives it the ribbed part from it. First thing you're going to do, and I've got a tin here with a big bead head just to kind of show you, for simpler to kind of see what you're doing. We're simply going to dress the the hook, which basically just means you're wrapping the line upon itself. All you're kind of doing. And then we're going to cut off that excess. Now you can, if you want, instead of using the bead head, you could use tinsel. And when you use tinsel, you simply just wrap it around the hook 7 times, then break it off and then secure it with the thread. But I just like the bead head, and so I'm going to continue with that. So we're going to continue down the fly. Now at this point we can do 2 things. We can either add the ribbing or we can add the tail feathers, and I'm just going to go ahead this time and add the ribbing first. And I've just got this tinsel. You're going to do, it's called a pinch loop, where you basically pinch, loosely hold it to the hook, and then you simply do 2 loose wraps around the hook and cinch it down, and now it's not going anywhere. And then I'm going to come back and keep dressing the hook and the tinsel towards the back of the hook. And as I get almost to where it starts to bend, that's where I'm going to stop it. Okay, and now I'm going to take the pheasant feather and I'm going to add the tail. Now you can also take like little tufts of hair from the mask of the hare and make the tail like this, kind of like we did on the red fox, where you're just using those tufts as a little tail here. But I'm going to use the pheasant feather, and you're simply going to take some of these quills. You don't need very many of them, and I'm simply going to cut them off here. And you can use the shorter ones actually, because you don't need very much length. And you can make it as sparse and as thick as you want. But I'm simply going to do the same thing. You just want it to come a little bit back, nothing crazy. And I'm simply going to pinch loop again and do a couple of loose wraps, holding the pheasant quills where I kind of want it to add the tail. Like I said, you can make it as long or short as you want. And then I'm going to secure that down. And then I'm simply going to come in and cut the excess off. And then go right back to where we're almost at the end, because that's where I'm going to start my dubbing. Now the dubbing, you can actually take these hair guards and you can, shave them down, but they also just kind of make it pre-packaged. And this is one of the techniques that if you kind of learn how to wrap the stuff in, and then you learn this dubbing technique, that's all there basically is to it. This is waxed line, and you can kind of wet it a little bit with your fingers. And then you're simply going to take this dubbing or this fur, and you're going to just spread it kind of down on the thread and simply spin it. And you just want it really as small a diameter as possible, but you want it sticking to the thread. It's kind of takes a little bit of practice, and I always seem like I have to start over and do it again, but you just keep spinning it until you get it kind of to where you want it, and you can stretch it out and make it thinner. But it's easier if it's thinner, in my opinion, because you can just do more loops than it being thicker. And then once you get it, you're just going to kind of start wrapping. I won't bump the camera there. and wrapping. And like I said, you can just do more wraps. I've found as I go, the thinner my flies look, I think they just look prettier. I don't know if they necessarily catch more fish. This is going to look pretty buggy. So you can see all those hairs are coming, all that fur is coming around and sticking out. And I'm just going to go about that far. Okay. And now I'm going to take, I'll go ahead and go all the way up here and just secure that head, that bead head while I'm up there, and then work my way back. All right. And then I'm going to take in the opposite direction my gold ribbed hair thread to make it the gold ribbed hair because it's ribbed in gold. And you're simply going to just palm wrap it around. And it's not really forming a pattern. It doesn't really serve any purpose. It just breaks it up a little bit and adds a little bit of flash to the fly when it's in the water. All right, go around there a couple times and then cut that off. All right, now we've got two things left because we're not going to add a hackle to this one to make it look like it's got legs. All we're going to do now is we're going to add these pheasant feathers to add the shell casing. And I'm just going to grab, I don't need a lot of them, just need, I don't know, depends on how thick you want your shell casing to look. I guess probably about like that. And you can use peacock herl if you want it to be darker. Like I said, I just need a little bit to kind of break it up. And then once again, you're just going to loosely palm wrap around to get those in the position that you want. Okay, and then I'm going to cut those off without cutting my thread. All right, so then I'm going to come back, and you can either take these hair guards that are darker here and use that, or use darker dubbing. I'm just going to use the same dubbing. And like I said, I'm going to wet my line just to kind of refresh that wax. And you can get wax and actually rub it up and down to help it as well. You can add glitter dubbing to it if you want to, dial it up a little bit. And the looser you have it wrapped on here, kind of the buggier it's going to look because it's not going to adhere tight like to it. And then you just start wrapping it. I kind of like it looking kind of buggy. All right, and then we're going to take our casing, bring it over into the middle, and then we're simply going to go and hold that down where I want it and just palm wrap it again. And you can add glue to this too to kind of make it pop. Some people will add kind of like an epoxy, and then they'll use a light to set it. But I haven't found that really necessary. They hold together pretty well. And then I'm just going to do the hand whip finish. And then you can come back and you can add Flex Seal or a glue and take your needle and add like a little daub here and a little bit under here. But like like I said, most of my flies kind of stay together pretty well. So, and that is it. That is kind of a buggy looking one, but that is the ribbed hare's ear. That's him. Kind of see the casing on the back, but once he gets wet, he'll kind of fold up a little bit, but deadly on trout. So anyway, enjoy. Thanks for watching. There's other videos on the red squirrel. Like I said, if you could learn the dubbing, if you can learn the different wraps, that's really all there is to it. Everything else is just changing out materials and how creative and how you kind of want to make them look. But again, they're trout, not biologists, so as long as they look somewhat like they're edible, the trout will eat them. I've caught trout in probably 5 different states with this fly right here. It works every time. And most of the trout, to be honest with you, are farm raised. They're at hatchery, and so they wouldn't even know what a real bug was until they see it. So they might think this is something they've never seen before. So anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.